On the last shift of the number 3 seam, something walked out of the dark behind my safety lamp. It had canary cages for eyes, and the birds in them were still singing. My name was on a brass check at the lamp house in Whipple, West Virginia. It hung on board number 41 for 19 years, and on the morning I am writing about it hung there alone. The rest of the board was empty. The mine had closed at noon the day before. I was the fire boss, and the fire boss goes in last. I was 53 years old in the spring of 1923, or 54. I had stopped counting the year my boy stopped writing from the Argonne. The company wanted the number 3 seam walked one final time before they shut the fan. Gas check, roof check, anything left of value, mark with chalk. A fire boss in those years carried 3 things: a wolf safety lamp with the brass bonnet polished to where you could shave in it, a piece of soft chalk in a tin sleeve, and, if your foreman was a careful man, and mine was, a small wire cage with a canary in it hung off the belt by a leather thong. Birds sang when the air was good. When the birds stopped, you turned around and you walked, and you did not turn back to see why. I had named my canary Tuesday because she came up from Roanoke on a Tuesday in the freight box of a man who had broken 3 others on the trip. She was the 4th bird I had carried in 19 years. You don't name a thing you mean to bury. The lamp house boy gave me the check, and he did not look me in the eye. He said, "Roy, walk it slow. Take the long way." And then he said, "And don't light any of the old lamps you might find down there. They are not for you to light." I did not ask him what he meant. A man does not ask the lamp house boy what the company has decided. He takes his check and he goes in. The number 3 drift mouth was a 1/4 mile up the holler from the lamp house. The portal was black with 19 years of coal dust, and there was a hand-painted board above it that said, "No smoking, no matches, keep your lamp lit." Somebody had crossed out "Keep your lamp lit" with a piece of red keel. I noted that. I went in anyway. The first 1/4 mile of a deep seam is the loudest part. You can still hear the world. Wind in the holler, a creek somewhere. By the half-mile mark, all of that is gone, and what you hear is the mine breathing. By the 3/4 mile mark, even the fan was wrong because the fan was off. They had killed it at dawn. No fan meant no draw. No draw meant gas, sitting where it had pooled overnight, waiting for a man with a lamp. I lifted the wolf, and I watched the flame inside the brass bonnet. The flame did not cap, it did not blew. Tuesday sang on my belt. "All right," I said to her. "All right." My grandfather used to say, and he was wrong about a lot of things, but right about this one, that a coal mine is a country with its own weather. You don't change the weather. You wait it out or you go home. I had passed that on to my apprentices, and one of them, a boy named Heflin, who was killed in 1918 by a roof fall I had cleared not 2 hours before, had repeated it back to me the morning of the day he died. I think about that more than I would like. The seam opened up at the mile mark into the main heading, 8 feet high, 12 feet across, cribbed with rotten oak. I walked it slow, the way the lamp house boy had said. I marked 3 places with chalk where the roof looked tired. I was perhaps 1,200 feet into the main heading when Tuesday stopped singing. She did not die. I want to be clear about that. She did not flutter. She did not fall off her perch. She just stopped, the way a clock stops. She was sitting on her perch with her head tilted the way they do when they hear something a man cannot. And then, from somewhere up the heading ahead of me, maybe 300 feet, maybe 4, you cannot judge distance underground, I heard another bird singing. I want to tell you I turned around, but a man does not get to 19 years in a deep seam by walking out the first time something is strange. He gets there by being curious in a careful way. So I unhooked Tuesday's cage from my belt and I set her down in a niche in the rib. And I told her, and I felt foolish saying it out loud, but I said it. You wait here. I'll come back for you. I walked toward the other bird with the wolf held out in front of me, the chalk in my left hand. The flame stayed yellow. The other bird kept singing. It was a canary, I am sure of that. This one sang the way a healthy hen bird sings in clean air. And there was no clean air down there. And that is the part I could not arrange in my head. About 200 feet on, the heading widened into an old workroom they had cross-cut into the seam before the war and never finished. Half the room was filled with fallen draw rock. The other half was clear. And standing in the clear half was a man. I say a man. He was the right shape for one. He wore a fire boss's hard cap and a fire boss's pit coat, and on his belt he carried a wolf lamp very much like mine, only his was unlit. His head was bent down as if he were reading something cupped in his hands, and where a man's eyes should have been, there were 2 small wire cages, set into the sockets the way you would set a lens, the round kind, no bigger across than a teacup. And in each cage was a canary, yellow, alive, singing. I did not move. I did not, God help me, run. A man does not run in a deep seam. He breaks his neck on the rib, or he sets off the gas with the strike of his hobnails. You stand still, and you let your eyes finish looking. So I let my eyes finish looking. The thing did not raise its head. The 2 birds in its sockets sang on, back and forth between themselves the way a pair will when they have been kept in the same room a long time, and in the dark behind it, I could see, or I thought I could see, other shapes, standing very still. 6 or 7 of them, maybe more. I backed out of the workroom 1 slow step at a time, the wolf held high, the chalk pressed so hard into my left palm it broke. The thing did not look up. I got around the corner of the rib and I held my breath for a count I could not measure, 3 or 4 seconds, and might have been 30. And then I moved the way a man moves when he is trying not to be heard by something he has just understood is listening. I made it back to the niche where I had left Tuesday. She was on her perch. She was not singing. She was looking up the heading the way she had looked at my lamp 20 minutes before, her head tilted, hearing the other one. And the other one Both birds in those two cages had started to come closer. I could not see it moving. That was the worst part. I would lift the lamp and the light would throw maybe 15 feet up the heading and there would be nothing. I would lower the lamp to rehook Tuesday's cage on my belt, which took perhaps 4 seconds. And when I lifted the lamp again, the singing would be 5 feet closer. Not louder, closer. There is a difference underground. I started to walk out. Heel down first, hobnails kept off the rail. The wolf held out in front of me. I was going home as fast as a 53-year-old fire boss can go home in a dead seam with a thing behind him that walks only when he's not looking. At the mile mark, I made my first mistake. The cribbing on the left rib had given up some time during the day, and there was a low place I had walked under on the way in without thinking. On the way out, I had to crouch. To crouch, I had to lower the lamp. To lower the lamp, I had to look down at the floor for, I want to say 2 seconds, possibly 3. When I came up and lifted the lamp again, the singing was about 15 feet behind me. And then I saw the second one. The second one was standing in the heading ahead of me, between me and the drift mouth. Same hard cap, same pit coat, same unlit wolf on the belt, same 2 wire cages where his eyes should have been. Different birds. His were quieter. One did not sing at all. It sat hunched on its perch, the way a sick bird sits. The other sang the soft, inquiring note a canary makes when she is asking the room a question. I stopped where I was. I could hear the one behind me, 15 feet back. I could hear the one in front of me, 30 feet on. I could hear Tuesday on my belt, not singing. And I understood, the way you understand a roof fall a half second before it lets go, that they had me between them, and they had decided I would go where the one in front led. A man who works deep coal for 19 years learns one thing above all the rest. He learns the rules his mind left written for him. Not the painted rules at the portal, the other ones. You stand under sound timber. You do not pass a closed door. You do not eat the lunch of a man who has not come back for it. And you never light the lamp of a man you find already down there. The one in front of me lifted his head, slowly, like a man who has heard his name. And the thing he had been cupping in his hands all this time, I'd taken it for a Bible or a tally book. He held out toward me. It was a wolf safety lamp, unlit. Brass bonnet polished bright enough to see your own face in. And the face I saw in his bonnet was not mine. It was the apprentice I had buried in 1918. The boy named Heflin, smiling the way a man smiles when he has finally been given a job to do. I did the only thing 19 years had taught me to do. I did not take the lamp. I did not look at his face. I lifted my wolf and I unlatched the brass bonnet and I blew out my own flame. Some ports remember everyone who left them. A mine remembers everyone who lit a lamp inside it. If you take a lamp from one of them, if you light it or let it be lit for you, you become the next one to hold it out and your own birds start to sing. The dark, when it came, was complete. I could hear, both behind me and in front of me, the singing stopped. All 4 birds at once, as if a hand had been laid over each of their small wire cages. And then, very faint, I heard Tuesday on my belt sing one note. Quiet, steady, pointing me home. I walked out in the dark with my hand on the right-hand rib. It took me 4 hours to walk what had taken me 1. I came out of the number 3 drift mouth at sunset. The lamp house boy was on the steps with a cigarette he had not lit. He looked at my dead wolf and at Tuesday on my belt, and he did not ask me anything. He took the brass check off the board and put it in his apron pocket. "All right, Roy," he said. "All right. You're the last one out." They sealed the number 3 the next morning, bricked the portal, welded a steel plate over the air shaft. The company called it a structural decision. I never went down a deep seam again. I am 78 years old as I write this, and I have outlived 2 wives, a son, and every man I worked the number 3 with. I have not outlived the singing. Oh, if you ever find a lamp in the dark that is not yours, do not light it. And if a man holds one out to you, do not look at his face. What is in his eyes is still singing.